12 candidates will take the stage tonight in the largest debate ever in presidential primary history. In order to qualify, contenders had to hit at least 2% in 4 DNC-approved polls, and they had to receive at least 130,000 unique donations. The candidates are grouped in frontrunner status order, with Senator Elizabeth Warren and Vice President Joe Biden side by side at center stage. Then comes Senator Bernie Sanders and Mayor Pete Buttigieg in the next positions.
For more on what we could expect from the night, The Hill's political reporter Julia Manchester joins us live from Ohio. Welcome, Julia.
Thanks for having me.
So, what can we expect tonight?
Yeah, so I think the number one thing we will be watching is the dynamic between the 3 frontrunners, former Vice President Joe Biden, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and Senator Bernie Sanders. A lot has happened for these 3 candidates since the last debate. We've seen that Joe Biden has been thrust really into the center of this impeachment inquiry into President Trump and President Trump's calls for Ukraine to investigate Biden and his son. We're also seeing that Biden's son gave an interview this morning to ABC's Good Morning America, essentially trying to remove himself kind of away from this controversy in Ukraine and trying to say that, what he did was essentially probably not the best ethical move. However, at the same time addressing that there was no wrongdoing done there. And looking at Bernie Sanders, he is coming out of having a heart attack earlier this month. So this will be his first major public appearance on this debate stage. He will definitely be looking to reassure his supporters that he is ready to go in on the campaign trail and that he is physically fit to be a candidate in the presidential race. And then Elizabeth Warren, this is really the first debate where she is a solidified frontrunner. She is leading former Vice President Joe Biden in a number of state and national polling.
Let's talk a little bit more about that Hunter Biden interview that I think everyone's talking about today. I mean, I'm not sure if he really did himself any favors. He's kind of all over the map. He said it wasn't improper, but maybe it was a mistake. He said, that he deserved to be on that board and he had the experience, but also that the Biden name has helped him in his life. My real question for you, though, Julia, is do you think that any of the other candidates on the stage, I'm sure the moderators will pose questions about this, but do you think any of the other candidates on the stage will pick up the charge as well?
No doubt, Crystal, that the moderators will ask Biden about this. However, it's really unclear if the other candidates will attack him on this or raise any questions about this. We've seen that Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Beto O'Rourke, Pete Buttigieg have all offered some sort of a defense of Biden in the face of these attacks from President Trump. So I think the calculus here on the part of these Democratic candidates is that if they attack Vice President Biden on this issue, they risk aligning themselves with President Trump. And the issue with that is President Trump is obviously enemy number 1 for Democrats in this primary. So they don't want to align himself with President Trump. However, there's very much legitimate questions about Hunter Biden's role on this Ukrainian energy company and maybe some of his other foreign ties that are going to be asked. However, I think Biden will have to contend with that if he gets the nomination and he debates against President Trump on the debate stage.
What about the rivalry, the next rivalry, as opposed to Biden, between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders? He made comments recently about how she was a capitalist to the bone. Can we expect a discussion on this stage about what socialism is, or what people consider it to be, what capitalism is, how far of a critique of capitalism actually turns one into a bona fide socialist? Are we going to see this kind of essentially debate about what socialism is and its role in America pop up on this debate stage?
I think it's very plausible that we could see this tonight. Sanders and Warren kind of have almost had this agreement throughout the past couple of debates and haven't attacked each other on the debate stage or the campaign trail. They've had a very friendly rapport so far. However, I think Bernie Sanders threw that first punch last week when he called Elizabeth Warren a capitalist and very much tied himself to his democratic socialist beliefs. That's him trying to, break into Warren's edge with that progressive base. What we have to remember is this progressive base that appears to be leaning more towards Warren Warren during this Democratic primary was originally with Bernie Sanders just almost 4 years ago in 2016. Bernie Sanders was the original champion of these ideas, such as Medicare for all and free college tuition. However, Warren has successfully put her own spin on these ideas and has been able to really break a large chunk out of that base that Bernie Sanders was very able to cultivate in 2016. So this is Bernie trying to fight back. So it'll be interesting to see whether we see him take a swing at her, on the issue of socialism right on the debate stage.
Yeah, I think he needs to differentiate himself. I think he needs to make that distinction sharper. Personally, something I've been arguing for on this show. Julia, though, we're also getting a little bit of a preview of how Mayor Pete may go after the progressives on the stage. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Mayor Pete has been a candidate that has been rather mid-tier throughout the campaign. Earlier this year, he kind of had a lot of publicity due to the fact that he's the first major openly gay presidential candidate to run on a major party ticket. And he's gotten a lot of publicity due to his more moderate, stances on a number of issues. However, has sort of plateaued in the polls. He hasn't been able to break through those top three spots that have been held by Biden, Sanders, and Warren. So we're seeing him continue to go after Warren in an ad that's actually going to be released in Iowa today, very much trying to differentiate his own Medicare plan from Warren's Medicare for All plan. So Buttigieg is essentially saying this is Medicare for all if you want it. This isn't mandatory, and hitting Warren on her Medicare for All plan, which would be mandatory. So we've seen him hit her or go after her on the issue of Medicare for All and health care in the past. So this is very much a continuation of that.
So does Warren have a big target on her back? I mean, as you said, this is her first debate going in as the official frontrunner. We've talked about a number of places she might get attacks from the left and from the right. Does she finally take the heat that she's not been taking in the media in this debate?
She does. She is definitely coming in with more of a target on her back because she is seen as a front runner now and, a direct rival to Vice President Biden. The first couple of debates, it was always kind of the question we were kind of asking was, who's going to go after Biden? What are they going to go after him about? However, now that target is turning out to be Warren, and we've actually seen Biden attack Warren in recent weeks. She made these comments last week and said, we're not electing a planner. And we know that Elizabeth Warren has very much touted this I have a plan strategy, has gone very deep into these policy ideas and, has been able to very much build her ground support on that platform. So this is Biden very much taking a shot at her, if you will, on her, her I have a plan strategy, if you will. So it'll be interesting to see how those two go at it because Biden and Warren represent two wings of the Democratic Party, Biden being the more establishment candidate and Warren being obviously progressive.
And Julia, last question for you. The debates in Ohio tonight, I know you've been working on a story about how Ohio will play overall in this election. I mean, this is a state that's actually been trending more and more red. Do Democrats still think they have a shot here?
Well, I actually spoke with some Ohio Democratic Party officials as well as some Democratic National Committee officials yesterday, and I think they are definitely still trying to invest in Ohio and trying to definitely put up a fight against Republicans in 2020, but they're taking a different strategy. Instead of maybe going into the blue collar, white working class areas that Trump was able to flip in 2016, they're actually focusing on the suburbs of major Ohio cities such as Cleveland, Toledo, or right here in Columbus. The fact that this debate is being held in Westerville, Ohio, a suburb of Ohio's capital city of Columbus, that very much does show that they are focused on those suburbs. And we know that suburbs across the country were trending blue in 2018. So this is very much a continuation of that strategy from Democrats of trying to turn out that white suburban white collar vote.
All right, Julia, thank you so much, and we'll check in with you later.
Thank you.
Want to remind everybody we're going to have our own live pre and post debate coverage here. So subscribe at our YouTube channel, get the notifications so you don't miss out on that. But next on Rising, another friend of the show is also at the Democratic debate tonight.
Fox News political reporter Paul Steinhauser describes what he's on the lookout for tonight when Rising continues.